Greetings, and welcome back to another episode of The Greatest Show in the Galaxy, the show where I, the curator, discuss my personal favorite show of all time, personal favorite franchise of all time, Doctor Who. And, brand new year, brand new Doctor, brand new everything, pretty much. I kind of already went through that phase in the previous episode, but that was kind of an unplanned, spontaneous thing. Uh, Mainly because of the guest I brought on. But thankfully, we actually have a much more structured plan for today. And of course, fans of the show, longtime fans of the show, if those even exist, would know that I usually just start each month by talking about the classic side of Doctor Who for the first week, then moving on to the modern side of Doctor Who for the following week, then doing something uh, sort of expanded universe type thing, then just something that sums it all up in the final week. Of course, in instances where I have 5 Mondays per month, I usually try to do something extra. That was last week. And again, because of scheduling and of my guests, I'm going to flip it around this month, and we're going to start off with the modern stuff and save the classic stuff for the next week's episode. Now, that bit of house cleaning out of the way, say hello to my guest for tonight, Soda. How are you
Hey,
doing?
I'm doing good, doing good. I'm doing even better once I saw what the topic was going to be.
Yep. Did you put on that shirt specifically for the show, or are you just excited to see me?
Um, Both. When you asked me to be on the show this morning, I purposely put on the shirt
Of course. Of
because
course.
it's one of my favorite shirts because of the episode it comes from.
Yeah, it's my favorite episode.
Yep.
All time.
Yeah, and it also got me thinking I really need to get more Doctor Who shirts. I only have this one, and I have, if I can find it, one if just the TARDIS that says "You never forget your first Doctor."
I love that. I used to have a shirt that's basically the promo image for this episode of just the Doctor and all the companions standing around. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's no longer a shirt anymore, but whatever. So you know how we start off each episode, right?
Uh,
You're already a veteran of the show.
yes, we celebrate the birth of some important people in Who history.
Yep, and I have a feeling you're really gonna enjoy at least one of the people we have today. But of course, we are counting down from the 2nd of January all the way to the 8th. And starting us off on the 2nd, we have Mr. Toby Haddock. He played a lot of characters on Big Finish. A lot, as a matter of fact. For some reason, he's credited on the episode Planet of Giants, which is a 1964 episode. So I doubt he was in an episode that aired before he was born.
I was going to say, was there a baby in that episode?
No, I mean that episode was 10 years before he was born. So that's gotta be an error on the website's part. Maybe there's different Toby Haddock.
I was going to say, maybe, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, he was in the Cybermen series on Big Finish. He was in Robophobia. He played an on again, off again character called Mr. Doric in several Big Finish episodes, a series perhaps. He was in Adventure in Space and Time. He
Mm.
was in the one of the Fourth Doctor Adventures volumes. He was in the Tales of New Earth, which I'm a huge fan of. He was in one of the Jago and Lightfoot box sets. So yeah, very busy guy on the Big Finish side.
Appears so.
So on the 2nd, we have the wonderful late and great Deborah Watling, who of course played the character of Victoria Waterfield
Mm.
in uh, the middle section. Let's call it the middle section of the Second Doctor's era and Doctor Who. Of course, she came back and reprised the role of Victoria Waterfield on Big Finish for the Companion Chronicles and for the Second Doctor Adventures volume, all the way leading up to her death in 2017. Not many people know this, but you've been playing the character alongside her real life father on the show, who played the character of Professor Travers
Hmm.
during the second Doctor era. So that's a bit of an interesting Doctor Who lore. On the third, and you'll see exactly why I have this guy on here in a minute. But on the 3rd of January, we have Mr. Peter Stevens. And this is the image that the website has. For, can you can you guess who he was playing?
I'm assuming he's like a king or something based off of a deck of cards.
You're actually a lot closer than you thought. He
Mm.
actually was the Knave of Hearts in the episode. Hold on, this one requires a drum roll. The Celestial Toy Maker.
Oh,
Now you see why he's on. I mean, he was then both the Knave of Hearts, the Kitchen Boy, and Cyril in that episode. If you watch the episode, you know exactly who these characters are. He also played another character called Lolem in the Underwater Madness, but I mean, it's because of the recent relevance of the Celestial Toy Maker, you can see why he's on today's show. Now, on the 5th of January, a woman that I guess needs no introduction, Mandip Gill, of course, played Yasmin Khan during the 13th Doctor's era, the only companion, technically, to actually be with the same Doctor for every single adventure across all platforms, TV show, comics, books, everything. So it's actually pretty interesting. You're about to say something?
well, hold on. Like, what about Jamie?
Jamie joined the second Doctor in his second story.
So that's the technically.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta be honest, I thought you were gonna bring up Rose. And
No,
the
no,
ninth
no,
Doctor.
no. That was my first thought, but then I thought about it, and it's like that was only one season, so that can't count.
Plus, Big Finish.
Mhm.
He's not with Rose in Big Finish. Now, also on the 5th of January, you have Mr. Ross Mullen, who played several monster characters, including the Wraith in Hellbent, one of the Cloister Wraiths, they're called, an Ice Warrior in a live show performance in 2013, but he also played the Teller in Time Heist, and get this, a Silent in the Time of the Doctor.
Ooh, nice.
So yeah, he's a monster guy.
Hmm.
On the 6th, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the living legend, Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean, Zazu,
Blackadder.
Blackadder, Johnny English.
Mhm.
I mean, I
Like,
had like 10,
he's an icon of British comedy. Dude is amazing.
arguably the iconic British actor of his time.
Mhm.
I'll wait for you to finish drinking because you might spill the drink at me. Would you say he is the modern day Charlie Chaplin?
No.
All right, fine. One.
No, it's just Charlie Chaplin had way too much of an impact on entertainment as a whole than Rowan Atkinson will ever.
All right, fine.
Yeah, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. It's just that Charlie Chaplin came at a time where he practically invented so many things. Like there are still things that are you look at it and you can still see traces of Chaplin's fingerprints all over it. It's So I'm sorry.
Speaking of Jamie, kind of gave Fraser Hines his start.
Yeah,
We talked about it in another episode.
we did.
On the 7th, Mr. Jeffrey Bailden, course, as seen in this episode, he appeared in an episode called "The Creature from the Pit," much forgotten episode from the Fourth Doctor era, for all the wrong reasons. But he also actually played the first Doctor on Big Finish's Unbound series, which is basically the Doctor Who version of What If. And he's one of two Doctors from that series that actually got to play the Doctor twice. They actually brought him back. So there's a bit of significance there.
Cool.
And speaking of, on the 8th of January, the man that started it all, Mr. William Hartnell, the man without whom we would not be sitting here today. I mean, there are very few people I can say this about when we're doing this section, but no offense to all the other people we had on the wonderful list of people we had today, but this guy, without him, we quite literally could not do this without him. I mean,
it's like you'd be saying the same thing about Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford.
Yep. I mean, why go there? I mean, Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelly.
Exactly. Set the blueprint.
Yeah. And to further put a fine point on it, he's actually the first person I used to bring up the birthday section when I started this show.
That makes sense.
First. So it's because of him that I'm actually doing this segment on the show. So, well, again, no offense to all the other people, but thank you, Mr. William Hartnell. We quite literally could not. Actually, no, we literally could not do this without you several times over.
The rest of y'all, bugger off.
Come on, I was trying to be nice, okay?
I'm kidding. some British humor, okay?
Yeah, you need a timeout. Okay, done. Okay, so Doctor Who, right?
Yes.
Now, you remember what we just had a week and a half ago, right? Dude,
yes.
Come on.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, for a moment, I thought you were talking about the show here. Yeah, of course. We had the Christmas special, the debut episode of Shudigatwa.
Yeah. And so this kind of got me thinking. This kind of got me to change what would have been the topic for this month. I was going to just do season openers because we did season finales a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And this is, the opening of a brand new year. But then I thought, why not just focus on just the Doctor debuts and save season finales for when the season actually starts, right?
Yes. Now, I will say going in, I've seen most of these multiple times. However, I've only seen Whittaker's once, and that's basically the only one I might have a hard time remembering.
At least you've seen all of them once.
Yes, I have seen all of them, yeah.
That's what counts. Yeah. And of course, we are starting with the one that started it all, Rose.
Yes.
Now, why don't you start off first?
You want me
you want me to start? Sorry.
Well, yeah, it's usually your show, so.
But you're the okay. Never mind.
No. Sorry. What I mean is, I'm just used to you introducing everything.
All right, I'm trying to do something new, but never mind. So, Rose. Now, of course, this episode kind of also follows the staple, the blueprint, if you will. Kind of another thing set up by this guy, but the blueprint for how to start a Doctor Who season, especially when you're introducing a new companion. And in fact, in this case, in reintroducing the show for the audience, you always start with the companion. It's sort of like, I always sort of compare it to, you brought up Star Wars a few references ago. I always compare it to how Star Wars A New Hope opens. You don't see Leia, you don't see Luke, you don't see Han. Who do you see first? C-3PO and R2-D2.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones that are leading you on this journey of discovery through this universe. Same thing with the companions. We can talk about this is in the classic series, episode 1. But I mean, again, just episode 1 of An Unearthly Child, which is literally named An Unearthly Child, the Doctor only shows up about halfway through the episode.
Mhm.
There's, again, 20 something minute episode. There's 10 full minutes of just Ian and Barbara with a little bit of Susan, and then the Doctor shows up, and that's what really set the template, the mold, if you will, for how these Doctor Who introductory episodes are going to start. And of course, we start off with Rose. I think it might. It's not 10 minutes, but it's definitely quite some time before we get this moment where we actually get to see who the Doctor is.
Well, we get basically in this start when we see her waking up,
Yep.
bedhead and all. We see her. I can't remember if we see her with her mom next or whatever, but I know we
do.
To Mickey. We're introduced to where she works. We're basically introduced to who this person is through a small music montage before we meet the Doctor.
Yep.
So by the time we see him, it's like, okay, so this is okay. We're familiar with her now.
Yeah. So it's like before you. No, obviously.
And it's a template Russell T Davies uses again, and we'll talk about it later.
Oh yes, we will.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we'll save that for a minute. But I mean, but by the time the Doctor shows up, you already know exactly who this character is,
Yeah.
and of course, old fans of the show already know who the Doctor is.
Yeah.
New fans of the show, they've got all this time to spend with this character now.
Mm.
Remember, the companions are interchangeable. They're switchable.
The only thing I don't remember is if we find out her name before or after we meet the Doctor in this episode.
Pretty sure. Well, I mean, her name is literally the title of the episode, but
I guess.
But I mean, it's like when the Doctor she gets the first name drop. It's like, I'm the Doctor, by the way. What's your name? Rose. Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life. But again, the technicality of her name being in the title.
Yeah, okay, fair.
So, and of course, what a great way to reintroduce the show to a younger audience and an older audience who were heartbroken when the show was canceled. The Autons are back.
Mm-hmm.
A classic villain that sadly didn't really see much use after this episode. But I mean, it was a great way to open John Pertwee's debut as the Doctor, and they were the perfect villain to bring back and modernize for the Christopher Eccleston debut. And of course, right then and there, we get glimpses of the TARDIS before we know what the TARDIS is. Of course, old fans of the show already know what the TARDIS is. New fans can discover it along the way. Even though, again, technicality being what it is, the TARDIS is in the opening credits also.
Right. But also, at this point, Doctor Who is in the pop culture. So, I mean, there probably are people who know what that is.
I mean, people know what a police box is,
Yeah.
right? At least we know what a phone box is. At least in 2005 audience.
Yeah.
People watching it today will probably see it differently. But then, of course, the Mickeyness of it all. And again, just the Doctor is barely in the episode until like halfway through.
Mm.
And then, of course, you get the big...
No, it's not halfway through.
Oh, it's not? I mean, he's in the first scene at the store. He's with Rose in her apartment with the hand. And then he goes off again. And then you don't see him until like the third act of the episode.
Really?
Because you get the whole Rose going to meet Clive Finch and the...
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's just right. And then
side quest.
Mickey
Mickey being eaten by a sentient trash.
Yeah. He becomes the Auton. Yeah, no, I remember now.
And then the Doctor shows up.
Yeah.
And then you get the TARDIS reveal, the TARDIS scene. Of course, again, old fans of the show know what's coming. They don't know what the TARDIS is going to look like yet, but it's again, you discover the TARDIS the same time as Rose does, and she gets to see it before the audience. She does a whole walk around the TARDIS, then walks back in, and I love this. There's the moment of she's running away from the Auton and just boom through the doors, and you see the console, you see everything, and then there's the sprawling shot, the establishing shot of the interior of the TARDIS Council. If you watch, well, actually, you did watch on An Earthly Child the scene where Ian and Barbara first enter the TARDIS. Again, it's a boom, massive room inside this tiny police box. Of course,
there's no grand debut. It's just like, whoa, we're here.
Yeah, of course, mainly because of shooting techniques back in the day and how they filmed it. Remember the era it was filmed in, but I think that was a really great way to start it off. So, and of course the nesting consciousness, that we get the mention of the word Time Lord right then and there, and one of my favorite things that has been completely forgotten from Doctor Who ever since, anti-plastic. How do you stop sentient plastic? Anti-plastic. What is it? What even is that? I don't know. It just sounds cool.
But maybe it'll come back when the Autons come back.
If they come back.
Yeah.
Cue our episode from last month where we ranked all the stuff we want back.
And honestly, with Russell T Davies back, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of feel like in his mindset, it's like, okay, I already brought them back. I want to bring back some other stuff now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you never know. Any final thoughts on this episode before we move on to the next?
It's a great debut. Obviously it's great enough to launch the whole series again. It's not one of my favorites of the debuts, I will say that, but it's still an enjoyable episode.
But again, without this episode, we do not have the show today.
Exactly. So, I mean, yeah, it ranks up there just for that. But in my personal opinion, it's not one of my favorites when it comes to introduction episodes.
Cool. Now, the next one, though, the Christmas Invasion. Yeah. Now, of course, we kind of already have an introduction to David Tennant in the form of the Children in Need special that came out before the episode. Just to give you a taste of what this new Doctor is. But as far as a full-on debut, and this is a topic that's going to get brought up in another Doctor later, but a full-on debut, it's this episode. With the Doctor, and I love how the episode just opens with the Doctor's with the Doctor going, Jackie, Mickey, wait, no, I've got something to tell you. So it's very important. What was it? What was it? Oh, Merry Christmas!
Yeah, what's good about this episode is it's another one we barely get the Doctor in it.
Yeah, but when the Doctor shows up,
he shows up. It's just like with the TARDIS. He shows up where he needs to be.
Yep, and the great moment of, did you miss me?
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, again, old fans of the show will know what Regeneration is, but as far as the new fans, like, whoa, what the hell? They just changed the main character on us. How is this going to work? And it's a shock for the companions and the supporting cast as well. Because, like, how did this happen? And Rose is like, I thought I knew him, but then he goes and does this.
Yep. Yeah. Rose, at the time, was the perfect avatar for the fans.
Yeah. Perfect mirror for the fans. Especially for the fans watching it for the first time. And then of course we get a few Doctor moments here and there. Of course, the iconic line, "I'm gonna get killed by a Christmas tree."
Yep.
Yeah, the robot Santas. Yeah, we get obviously the Sicker X. We see them here in this picture in the background. Another great looking villain that they never brought back, except for a few minor cameos. here
Yep.
and there.
And if I'm not mistaken, they do reference it in Shakespeare Code.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, here's the question though: did do you think Russell T Davies named them Sycorax after the Shakespeare thing
That would.
intentionally?
That's the only reason I could think of that he would come up with a word like that.
Yeah. So he made the Shakespeare episode intentionally to point a finger at the fact that he took the name from that.
It's possible.
Because I don't know if you knew this, but the new companion Ruby Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a play on on a song, Ruby
Ruby
Monday, I think.
Tuesday, Ruby
Ruby
Tuesday
Tuesday,
by
yeah.
the Rolling Stones. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people were kind of as people generally tend to do. They were very outraged at the name until someone he came out and cleared up and was like, guys, it's a reference to a song.
Yeah.
Chill.
I mean, we got the Rolling Stones reference there, and then I think in like the first episode coming out is going to be the Beatles are going to be in there.
Yeah.
It's either the first or second episode.
Yeah, but the Rolling Stones is like 10 years later, right? Isn't it? Aren't they?
No, Rolling Stones and Beatles were they got Rolling Stones started like after the Beatles, but not by much.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, Lennon and McCartney actually wrote a song that the Stones did. Yeah,
Cool.
I Want to Be Your Man. Yeah,
Cool.
Mhm.
Now, again, we talked about all the stuff leading up to the Doctor, and then the Doctor shows up. Still a little bit iffy from having regenerated, but then there's the moment where he becomes the Doctor properly. Gets his hand cut off and remembers who he is.
Yeah.
And then the sword fight, and then the whole Satsuma. Again, it's another Doctor thing you got from the fifth incarnation, the cricket ball, and the whole no second chances. Again, it's setting a precedent for this Doctor and setting him apart from the Ninth Doctor, who just goes in practically guns blazing, even though the Doctor doesn't really use guns much. But
Yeah.
it's the Doctor of giving someone a chance first, and then taking them out, like he did. So
there's something I'm surprised you didn't bring up.
I'm waiting for you to bring it up.
It's the reference to your favorite movie of all time.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, of course. I mean the reference, but I thought you were going for Harriet Jones, the Prime Minister.
No. I thought you were going to bring that up.
You're supposed to say yes. I know who she was.
Yes, I know who she is, but I thought you were going to bring that up next because that's after what you just.
Yeah, but it's not that major to the plot, but.
But it's you. You usually try to sneak in a Lion King reference somewhere.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I mainly did it for Ben. Nowadays, I don't really see a reason for it anymore.
That's fair. Well, yeah, there is in honor of Ben. Duh.
But it's not the same if he doesn't get to enjoy it.
Maybe.
If I don't get to see the look on his face.
That's fair.
It is what it is. So, Harriet Jones, former Prime Minister.
Yep. I do know who she is.
You're supposed to say it.
I just did. I do know who she is.
Oh, okay. So, we talk about the stuff we like from this episode. What do you think about her specific involvement in it? And then we'll wrap it up.
I do. I like where her character ended up because she did have to make the tough call. Because honestly, her reasoning for doing it makes sense. The Doctor's not always there, so I mean, I get it. Plus, the actress who played her, what's her name? Penelope
Winton.
Penelope Winton. Yeah. She really good job, and I just like the way it ended with the Doctor says, "I can end you with just what 5 words." 6 words. Yeah. Doesn't she look tired?
Don't you think she looks tired?
There it is. Yes. and then just whispers it to the guy, and after that, her career is over. Like how?
He's the Doctor.
Yeah.
If only he could do the same for Netanyahu, but I mean this is not a time for politics.
No.
Should we move on to the next one? I think you're gonna have a lot to say. So the 11th hour, am I right?
Oh yeah, it's one of the best.
I'm not gonna lie, it might be my favorite Doctor debut out of all the Doctors.
Oh, I agree with you.
Now, part of it kind of comes from the fact that I was really not on board with Matt Smith as the Doctor until I saw this episode, and this is really the one that changed me.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's a little bit of bias there, but whatever. So, of course, the episode itself starts chaotically. Like it was not a very smooth transition between the 10th Doctor and the 11th Doctor. The TARDIS is kind of crashing and burning and falling and whatever. And then right there, I love that we get the setup for everything that's about to come with this new companion of Amy Pond, Amelia Pond, whichever way you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the madman in the box crash lands on her in her garden while she's praying to Santa Claus, and it all just goes up and up from there. Now, the starting moments of him she's giving him food and he just spitting it out. First time I saw it, I was like, "What are we doing? Like, is this Doctor Who really now? Is this?" Because again,
think about it. Doctor Who's always been silly.
It's always been silly, but there's you gotta put it in the context of this is a Doctor debut. This is a show with a storied history, and it kind of feels like for a introduction of the Doctor, every moment counts. You'll never get a second chance of a first impression, and this was the first impression, sort of. But as the years go by, you sort of start to expect that moment, so it's a little softer for you.
Right, but also like the thing about a Doctor debut is, with the exception of episodes like Rose, is about the Doctor trying to figure out who he is, how he dresses, how he looks. This instance, how he eats. Like that's how I've always looked at it. It's the Doctor's trying to figure out who he is and what he likes to eat. So I guess that never really bothered me.
Yeah. The main thing that kind of bothers me about this being part of Doctor Who history is kind of, the horrible waste of food.
Okay, fair.
Like, I mean, you can kind of understand.
Yeah, I get that point.
And good food.
Yeah.
Let's be clear here. But again, after some years have passed and you get over it, you get acclimated to this Doctor. You happily look forward to this moment, right? Every time you watch. And then of course we get the whole Prisoner Zero stuff, the cracks in the skin of the universe, the crack on the wall.
Who plays the avatar for the cops guards?
For the what?
The guys looking for prisoners, or yeah,
David the Kaiser. David the Kaiser.
Olivia Colman.
Oh, the Avatar.
The Avatar.
I thought you were this thing, the eye.
Yes. No. Sorry, I was talking the lady with the two kids.
Yeah. So, yeah, Olivia Colman, culminating in. There's a pun in there somewhere. I'm just not ready for it yet. But yeah, so Prisoner Zero, the cracks in the skin of the universe. Prisoner Zero will vacate the human premises, or human premises will be incinerated. You get introduced to Rory, of course. You get to learn, and again, this episode really just sets up everything you need to know about these characters moving forward. Yep. You learn right away Rory's connection with Amelia, whichever you want to call it.
Amy.
Yeah, you get the guy who was later in Umbrella Academy is the
Yep.
guy who shows up in the one episode.
Yep, the guy with the laptop. The doctor's like, delete your history.
Jesus, get a life, Jeff. Get a girlfriend, Jeff. And of course, the doctor the doctor saving the world without even having to change his clothes.
Oh, and the moment where he's describing who he like, you're figuring out who he is. You see all this ball of like showing all these images of everything from the past, and it culminates
And the future, and other planets, and other universes.
And it comes with him walking through, and it's just like, because I'm the doctor, and you're like,
hello,
right on.
Hello, I'm the doctor.
Yeah, right.
Basically,
on board.
Run.
You basically, run. Like, all right, cool, let's go.
I mean, again,
like to quote Tim Geddes from Kind of Funny, that is a hype moment.
Now, for me, someone with my low expectations about this doctor, if I wasn't already sold on this doctor by that point, this is the moment that sold me on him.
100%. And that is something I've heard a lot too. Is like, this is the moment where everyone was on board.
And again, I watched all of Classic Who. By that point, I was prepared. I knew the doctor was going to change. I was just not prepared for it because Tennant was my guy.
Yeah.
And I was seriously considering not watching Doctor Who anymore after that. That's how much I got attached to that doctor. And it's always the sort of thing of like, you hear other people say it happened to them, but you never expect it to happen to you, and then it does. But luckily, he set me straight. He set me on the right path. And again, thanks to that moment, I'm still watching till this day, and he's my second favorite Doctor now.
He's great. He's my second favorite too, and he's the one that I used my first.
Yep, you never forget your first.
Yep,
Doctor.
Like, to the point, as you've known, and I've shown him many times on it, his screwdriver right there.
Yeah, and if that wasn't enough for you, the introduction of the TARDIS, that's another moment that really sold me. The new sonic screwdriver, everything. It's like, you see this, and like, if you still had any trepidations before watching the episode, it's like watching this episode, you're like, okay, Doctor Who is in safe hands now. Doctor Who is in good hands now. Let's go, Alonzi.
Basically, or Geronimo,
or to put it another way, Geronimo.
Yep.
Anything else before we move on to the lesser viewed episodes for you?
Nope. Like I said, badasses can be. Great debut. Like, it's, if you look on a lot of lists, its episode is right up there at the top of Doctor Who. So, I mean, we could go on and on about this episode, but you have to go to bed soon.
No, sadly. And then, of course, we get Deep Breath with Capaldi's debut. Now, of course, for a lot of these, this wasn't technically the debut, because you already saw Capaldi in Day of the Doctor. Or rather, we saw a hand and two eyes and eyebrows.
Yep, the eyebrows.
The attack eyebrows. Yep. But then, of course, we get the wonderful kidneys moment from Time of the Doctor. And then this.
This was the first one I actually saw when I debuted. The first one of two debuts.
All right. So, just walk me through this. What was when did you start watching this? When the show was?
So, I'm trying to remember.
I mean, I know you started with the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
That was the first one I saw, but I'm trying to remember if I started with, no, it wasn't with Amy. I think it was with Clara. By the time I caught up, it was leading into the 50th. Okay, by the time I caught up to real time, I think it was the 50th by that point.
So this isn't the first episode you saw when it aired.
No, it's not the first episode I saw when it aired, but it is the first one of two Doctor debut episodes I saw when they aired. Is what
The 3.
I didn't see Whitaker's when it debuted.
Oh.
I saw that
Okay.
after because I didn't have access to it. I did see it, but it was like a little bit later.
All right, never mind. Well, never mind then.
Yeah.
Now, again, Doctor Who history in the making here. Okay, so a Tyrannosaurus is running through the streets of London, Victorian London. No biggie. No biggie. Spits out the TARDIS. We get the Paternoster gang again. We get Vastra, Jenny, and Strax. Strax goes to the TARDIS to talk to the Doctor. And the first thing the Doctor does is like, shush! Again, so, like I said, you never get a second chance of a first impression. What do you think of the first impression from this Doctor?
It's a little weird because in a way I was like you, not as to the point where I was not going to keep watching, but because Matt Smith at that time was my guy, it was really quite jarring, like you described it with Matt Smith. So it took me a while to get on board with Capaldi.
It took me a while to get on board with Capaldi, and remember, I'm the more seasoned of us.
Yeah.
But again, going like I keep saying, it's you gotta wait and see if it stands the test of time,
Mhm.
and this certainly does, in my opinion. It's like, okay, at first you don't know what to do with this, you don't know how to react to this new Doctor. Then as the years go by, you know what this Doctor is going to be, you know, by the end, and you rewatch this moment, you're expecting it, and you're just laughing the whole way through with him yelling at the dinosaur and speaking to the dinosaur and getting confused with everyone. And then that's going to be kind of a staple of this Doctor too. It's like, I don't have time to call everyone by their names, so I'm just going to make up names for everyone. So it's like the green one and the not green one, or is that the other way around? I don't know.
Yeah, basically, it's like the thing about Capaldi is he gets better with age.
He's like wine.
Exactly, he's like wine.
Very
Like
fine.
as now we've gotten enough time to let his stories ferment, so to speak. You realize that they're better than they thought they were.
Yeah, so much better. Of course, a majority of the episode does take place. Sorry, it does focus on the companion. Now, I'm gonna say this. Companion aside, I mean, we all know what I think about Clara.
Mm-hmm.
Not a very good debut for the Doctor.
No, in comparison to the other ones we discussed, definitely not.
Yeah, there's some really questionable stuff in there. Thank God the Paternoster gang was in this episode. There was a lot of levity, especially from the Strax. Like the Times should have sent it up. Yes. And then it's like they're jumping in to save the day. The Vastra and Jenny are spinning around on these drapes stuff, and they land. They draw the swords, and then Strax like
yeah.
Mashed potatoes.
Like that's the thing about this episode. It represents this first season of Capaldi's run very well, where it's very inconsistent and kind of all over the place,
uneven.
Yeah,
it's like jumps from comedy to seriousness to levity to darkness.
Yeah. Which you even say the same thing about Matt Smith's run as well, which I do as well. Like that first season, there's definitely some episodes that, in my opinion, are not that good.
Yeah, but I think Capaldi's first season is more so.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because by the latter half of Smith's run, you were all right, guns a blazing, let's fucking go. Whereas with Capaldi's, you're right, it was a little, they didn't find their footing until the next season.
It's a slow burn. Capaldi's a slow burn.
Yeah.
And the moment of him just dropping the guy off the it was the TARDIS, dropping him off the TARDIS, impaling him on a church, and looking at the cameras like, this ain't your daddy's Doctor anymore.
He basically pulled the year one Batman.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But it gave us Missy.
Exactly. Yeah. Missy is easily the highlight of that season.
and especially that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know who she is,
Yeah.
and it's a great way to start off a mystery. It's like it's a great trend that uh, Davis started and Stephen Moffat continued, teasing you of what's to come.
Yeah. And which we know we're going to get, like, we're going to be talking about it. We might talk about it.
We kind of do. We kind of have it in
But
Doctor Who.
like with at the end of the giggle.
Yeah, the I'm the potentially the Jinx Monsoon character.
Yeah.
But again, this was not a thing in a classic Who. Maybe for a serial, maybe, and even then it's a stretch and it's late, and I mean very late. I mean Seventh Doctor late, but
oh wow,
yeah. And again, it's only for a serial, but a serial or two maybe. But yeah, so Missy, great setup for that. And well, I mean, the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, pretty much.
So moving on to the one you know the least.
Yeah.
Out of all these, probably.
Like I said, I've seen it, but I only saw it the one time.
Yep. The Woman Who Fell to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, again, following the same mold, you start off with the companion's point of view. You get introduced to Ryan and Graham. Actually, you get introduced to Ryan right up top.
Yeah.
Ryan and Graham and Grace. Some minutes later, you see Yaz as well. And there's like 10, 15 minutes of just no Doctor at all in this episode. Get introduced to the main threat, which is, of course, Tim Shaw, arriving because of Ryan doing some shit. And then, of course, there's the attack on the train. And here's what I mean by what I just said about the spitting of the food and going shush as being the introduction of the Doctor. The Doctor is introduced in about 10, 15 minutes in this episode. How is she introduced? What's the first thing she does? She smashes through the roof of the train.
Yeah.
Emerges out of it, and then saves everybody immediately by driving away the stupid ball of electric wires.
It was a little weird. It was like a superhero moment.
Yeah. But again, what's the first thing we see this Doctor do? She saves everybody.
Yeah.
Like a situation of how are they going to get out of it? What's going to happen now? Boom! The Doctor swoops in and saves the day without even meaning to. This is what I mean of a good moment of setting up. I mean, to think of the Christmas Invasion, to go back to that this point again, the first moments of like, okay, who this Doctor is and what we're going to see from him, the whole Jackie, Mickey, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. And going back to Rose, what's the first thing we see this Doctor do? Grabs her hand and goes, run.
Yeah.
So again, going into Doctor Who history books. Of course, with this Doctor, we kind of already had the Chris Children in Need special I already talked about, but this is kind of our introduction to this Doctor, and in my opinion, it only goes up from there. It's like we get Tim Shaw, we get the stanza, we get a feeling of this Doctor still kind of unstable, going through something that we haven't seen any Doctor go through up until this point, of like not only having to adjust to a brand new body, but needing to get readjusted to the fact that she's now a woman and not a man. That also takes a bit of time. It actually kind of takes about almost a full season for her. But yeah, so of course there's the tragic death of Grace. I'm trying to see what I can say that you can actually talk about.
Yeah, well, I remember. Yeah, this there's the tragic death of Grace, which Tim Shaw that kills her.
Not exactly. I mean, Tim Shaw's distracted by the Doctor at that point, and Grace sees the ball of electric wires, and she on her own decides that someone needs to stop that thing.
That's right.
Or kills everyone else.
She sacrifices herself.
Herself. In the moment, we can kind of argue it was kind of unnecessary. She didn't need to die, but that's what happens. And the saddest thing of all is because it kind of feels like she would have been the perfect companion for this doctor
Right?
more than the other three, but
Mhm.
she bit the dust, as they say.
Yep. Sometimes, well, that happens sometimes.
So sometimes you get these characters there that you think were like perfect companion material, and they just go out. Or
Another thing to the picture that you used for the episode
she
isn't.
made her own sonic screwdriver.
I was going to say, isn't this the only time we've ever seen this?
Yep, the only doctor that ever made her sonic screwdriver. And of course, there has been a lot, and I mean a lot of criticism about how she overused the screwdriver. That's the main attribute this doctor has.
Mhm.
She's the tinkerer. She made her own screwdriver. Of course, she's gonna use it more than most other doctors.
It's her
What did
baby.
you expect? And then, of course, the choosing of the clothes scene. And one other thing that I like about the Chibnall era is the episode ends by leading you to what the next episode is going to be. Like, I have a way of finding my TARDIS. This is goodbye now. Zoop, and she accidentally teleports herself and the others into space,
Mm-hmm.
into the void of space, and that's the cliffhanger. That's how the episode ends. So, what do you think of that?
That was, well, like I said, it's the one I've seen them once, so I've seen the least. Jogging my memory a little bit, yeah, that I do remember that being a little freaky.
The
When
way
I saw
it
it.
ended.
Sorry.
The way it ended.
Yeah, well, yeah, just how like like because got used to that with Doctor Who, right?
Not used to that.
I would work. Remember, I'm not as well versed into Doctor Who as you.
Okay, cool. Because like, I like a good cliffhanger, especially at the start of a season.
Oh
Now,
yeah, it's just
it doesn't
What-
necessarily sit. Unlike Missy, it doesn't necessarily set up something that's to come.
yeah.
And even in the 11th hour, you see that by the end, there's like the little crack on the screen of the TARDIS. The Doctor's checking out for like a second and then it disappears.
Yeah.
So, and even in David Tennant's first episode, you get a mention of Torchwood.
Mm-hmm.
So there is
Yeah, like those cliffhangers were more subtle.
yeah.
This one wasn't.
Those weren't really cliffhangers. Those were just sowing the seeds, as
Yeah.
they say. Whereas this one is a full-on cliffhanger.
Mhm.
Of course, Jodie's first season didn't really have much of a seasonal arc per se. So cliffhanger, I think, works best in this situation. And can't remember if the Rose had something that's set up for the series, but
Well, Bad Wolf maybe was Bad Wolf mentioned in that episode
I mean, it was a lot more subtle. Wasn't a mention.
because that has to be the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, because I mean, if you want a Bad Wolf reference, Rose is wearing a red hoodie.
Okay, that's a little deep even for me.
But like I said, that's very, very, very subtle.
Yeah, but isn't it like written in the back on the back of something? Because that's the thing of the entire season is Bad Wolf.
Not every episode was in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Some were more subtle than others.
Okay.
Like the red hoodie.
Yeah.
And think that about wraps it up for the Woman of Feltworth. So, do you want to just go ahead and talk about the church on Ruby Road?
Yes, the most recent one.
The one you probably know most right about now.
Yeah, it's the most freshest for sure. This was a fun episode, and what I loved about this episode is that it was different because the Doctor isn't trying to figure out who he is in this. The Doctor's already the Doctor. He's already right on. He's there. He's not trying to figure out his shit. He's on board.
Yeah, and this kind of brings me to another point of, is this really his debut? Because in my mind, he already debuted in The Giggle.
Yeah.
He already had the iconic Doctor moments that he needed to have in that episode. So this was basically an episode 2 for him.
Pretty much, more or less. But it is the first full episode with him as the Doctor. This was so much fun. I want more stuff like this. I want more of this kind of vibe with these two. I'm looking forward to what
This is more, in my opinion. This is more the debut of Ruby than the debut of the Doctor.
100%.
And again, we get the familiar pattern. We're starting with the companion first. Of course, we get glimpses of the Doctor early in the episode, but it's not, very much in your face, not very much the Doctor. And again, you already know who this Doctor is because of the giggle, so you're not surprised to see him with the TARDIS. You're not supposed to see him sonicking stuff. It's
but unless you saw the images that came up before the episode, you would have been surprised to see what the Sonic looks like.
Yeah, I don't think you would have been that surprised. But since you brought that up, what do you think of the new Sonic?
I'm not on board yet.
Me neither.
It looks, it looks like a fob. I don't know if you know what a fob is. It's a little device you use to open up like garage doors or
that's that.
Or
I know what that is.
That, yeah.
It looks like a remote.
Yeah, which is basically what a fob is. Yeah, it's a little car remote.
It doesn't scream sonic screwdriver to me. Now I get it. Hold on. I understand that mouse work. I understand that the sonic screwdriver has never actually looked like a screwdriver, but at least it looked like a tool, right?
Well, yeah, at least it has one thing in common with a screwdriver, and that was a straight object.
Yeah. It's objecty. It's something that can be pointed. Sorry, can be held or pointed. So,
was it on one of the Who Culture things? I think it was the spoiler discussion. Somebody, I think it was Ellie, brought up that it looked like the remote from the movie Click with Adam Sandler.
I love the movie, but I'm not a fan of this being the screwdriver now.
Yeah.
Because how can you even call it a screwdriver? It's a sonic remote.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man. Stranger things have happened. Do I need to remind you of the sonic shades?
I was going to say the sonic shades. So, there you go.
Maybe things will change.
Yeah.
Over the course of this Doctor's run. Remember, we've only seen one full episode with this.
Right.
So what do you think of this episode? The goblins, the kidnapping of the baby, changing time, the mystery of the mother, Davina McCall, everything, all of it.
I enjoyed the whole that episode. I liked the way they introduced Ruby, using an actual existing show, where she's trying to find her parents. So I thought that was a great way to get the exposition out of the way, so we know who she is right off the bat. I love the introduction of her family, her mom and her grandma. Great characters. I want more of Cherry Sunday. I want to see her more.
Where's my tea? Where's my fucking tea?
Davina McCall was pretty fun. Again, I didn't really know the connections until after the episode. So yeah, there's that. I love Shidigawa in this. Like, again, love him. The Goblin stuff I thought was fun. It was nice to finally see the context for the Goblin song. I thought it was great. As I messaged you as I was watching, I said, if we get more stuff like this might be my favorite Doctor. And I even said that on a post from Russell T Davies, and he liked it on Instagram. So,
hey.
yeah. So I want more of like this. I love Ruby Sunday. I'm on board with her as a companion. I think she's going to do great stuff. Yeah, this to me is why this is an episode that reminds me of why I love Doctor Who in the first place, which, if I'm being honest, with a lot of the stuff with what I remember seeing from what occurred even towards the end of the Capaldi, it just wasn't the same for me. So I did drift off. But this is like, hey, man, this is for you.
Now, the Goblin song, and more specifically the song and dance that the Doctor and Ruby do.
Oh, yeah. That was, all right. Yeah, 100%. Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say before you cut me off, this was my, okay, is this really Doctor Who now moment? This was my spitting food moment. This was my shush moment. This was my, is this going to be the way this Doctor's going to go now? And this, I'm hoping it's going to be that moment of, in years to come, I'm going to look back and fondly remember this moment and really look forward to this moment whenever this moment happens.
I
So,
have
yeah,
a feeling we're gonna get more of them singing because we have an episode with the Beatles coming up. So I can see them maybe not like this, but I can definitely see them maybe busting out into song every once in a while.
cool.
Yeah.
What do you think of the changing of time in the middle of the episode?
I thought that was pretty.
First of all, did you notice it right away, by the way?
No, I didn't. I didn't notice really until we got into the kitchen, really. And then all of a sudden you see the pictures aren't there, and then that's what kind of when I was like, that's when it really hit me. But I got the inkling of it when we were in Cherry's room.
I mean, I got it right away when it's like, okay, where's Ruby?
Mm-hmm.
Where the hell is Ruby? And I think it's kind of a problem when the audience notices it before the Doctor does, because the Doctor's always several steps ahead. So
that didn't really bother me. Like I
it-
said,
everyone-
like I didn't figure out right away. It's just like something feels off, and then when we got in there and we saw like, oh shit, all the pictures are gone. That's when it was like, oh, they went back in time. Something happened here. Yeah.
Now, before we get into the main questions, what do you think of the intelligent glove?
I thought it was awesome. Very simple. I want to see more stuff like that. So because this is a stylish Doctor, you can tell right off the bat. So I got a feeling we're going to get some more practical stuff that are stylish.
Wearable technology.
Yes, sir.
Now, I mentioned that Jodie's the Tinkerer one because she made her screwdriver. Kind of wish we got to see more of the tinkering side of the Doctor. This with Doctor specifically, especially. I have a feeling we're gonna get it with Jodie's Doctor with the gloves and everything. And you know what? I think this will really justify the new Sonic looking like it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're gonna get a Tinkerer tech savvy Doctor moving forward.
Yeah, right. If you put it in that context, yeah, that kind of makes more sense.
Cool. Now, main questions time. Ruby's mom. Who do you think? What do you think?
Oh crap! Like I've seen so many things out there that I think could be fun. Like I've seen it's a futuristic Ruby Sunday, or it's various people's daughters. I don't know, but something tells me it has something to do with Mrs. Flood.
That's an interesting theory. Could be two completely separate streams.
Could be.
Get it? Streams, Flood.
Mm-hmm. I know. I hear you. I hear you. Hold on. I got it.
Now, I think Russell really wants us to focus on that. That's why he started this episode with this mystery, and we all know the Russell T Davies is the master of the storytelling when it comes to Doctor Who.
Ah.
Do you think this could be a sleight of hand, a distraction to distract us from the other major mystery, which is Mrs. Flood?
And that is something that crossed my mind not that long ago. I can't remember if I said it to you or if I said it to somebody in a Facebook group, but I said this could, knowing Russell T Davies, this could be a red herring too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I think so too. I really do.
Now we already kind of knew that Ruby Sunday's mom is going to be a central figure in this episode before the episode even aired, mainly through leaked stuff. There's a clip went around the internet months and months before the episode aired of like her running around the streets yelling out to her mom on her phone or something. There were leaked images of her with Gemma Redgrave as Kate Stewart. Some people brought up the possibility that she could be Kate Stewart's daughter before the episode even aired. So the subject of Ruby Sunday's parentage is specifically her mother, because that's the one they chose to focus on in
Mhm.
this episode, has been a topic of conversation before the episode even aired.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, the doctor saw her mother and chose not to pursue her, chose not to figure out who
Mhm.
she is. Almost like the doctor himself doesn't think it's that big of a mystery. Like, I always say that the point that Chibnall was trying to make with the timeless child, the whole conversation between the 13th Doctor and the fugitive Doctor in the Matrix, followed up and backed up by the fact that the Doctor took the foot watch and buried it in the TARDIS somewhere. The point he was trying to make is that it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter who about the timeless child. All that matters is she's the doctor, and that's all you need to be focusing on. So, do you think that's another message that Russell is trying to give us? Is like, it doesn't matter who she is. You need to focus on Ruby and not who her mother is.
Yeah. And one of the things I did hear and I thought also could be interesting is that it's Jenny's daughter.
I mean, I just set this whole thing up, and you just took it in a completely backwards direction.
Yeah. No, you're probably sorry. I wanted to mention that because that was not something that was mentioned earlier. However, yes, I do agree with you. I do think a lot of this in the red herring is red herring of some sort. Like there's something bigger going on. There has to.
But do you and if the train that I was running on actually does get to the station, probably not my best metaphor, but if it does turn out that who her mother is, it doesn't matter. What matters is Ruby and her friendship with the doctor. Do you think
Yeah.
how disappointed do you think people will be?
Honestly, as a whole, I think they'll be very disappointed.
Yeah, because you kind of start off with this big major thing, and you don't really follow it up much.
Yeah, no, I think Doctor Who fandom a lot of people will be disappointed in it, unless that all depends on how it's done. However,
yeah, execution is everything with Doctor Who, as we've seen, especially in more recent years. But moving on to the other major thing, Mrs. Flood.
Mm-hmm.
Who, how, why, where, when?
Yeah, this is the one where it's like, if people see, is the Ronnie, is it this person, is it this person? And I've also seen people say like something was altered when the Doctor went back to save Ruby, and it's just like, oh my god, there's I part of me wants this one to be true that it's Susan. Or something along those lines.
How would it be Susan though?
I don't know. I saw it somewhere and I thought it was interesting.
Susan's in the future.
Again,
100 years in the future.
Who knows? This is Doctor Who we're talking about here.
40 years in the future. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the one that I'm more curious about, if I'm being honest, because of the little post-credit scene, the way it happened.
Funnily enough, like the fact that there is a mid-credit scene,
which has only happened once or twice before.
Yeah, I mean, with the Santa Claus.
Yeah, the one where we're introduced to Santa Claus, and then wasn't there another one with Capaldi as well?
Another one with Capaldi?
Yeah,
I mean, that was Capaldi. Santa Claus was Capaldi.
Yeah, but wasn't there another mid-credit scene?
Not that I can remember.
Anyways, maybe I misread that somewhere.
But yeah, I think unlike the subject of Ruby's mother, where the Doctor sees her, he has the option of going there and talking to her and finding out who she really is. He chooses to walk away. The fact that there is a mid-credit scene about Mrs. Flood, it's like Russell is telling us, don't focus on the mother, focus on Mrs. Flood.
Yeah, because it was completely out of left field. Like the thing with Ruby and her parentage, like you said, people were speculating on that before the episode even aired. This thing with Mrs. Flood just completely came out of left field.
Yeah, and it kind of goes into something that Capaldi said in one of his episodes. It's like, don't look at where the arrow is pointing, look at where it's pointing away from.
Yeah.
Mrs. Flood of it all. Now, personally, I think that this is someone that the Doctor and Ruby are going to meet somewhere down the line with the season when she herself is younger, and that's how she knows about the TARDIS. Could
Yeah.
be 100 different things. That is a story for another time.
Mm-hmm.
So this was fun.
Yeah.
Probably a pointless question to ask, but which of the 6 Doctor debuts that we talked about today is your favorite?
11th Hour, and right now, Church on Ruby Road is number 2.
Cool. Very good list. I mean, like I said, my number one will always be sorry, not always, but my number one of all the Doctors is 11th Hour.
That's the benchmark for me as well.
Yeah, but I mean, the show is never going to end, so this still could change, obviously.
Mhm.
But I think we've talked about enough Doctor Who for today. So where can the good people of the interwebs find you?
You can find me on my personal Instagram and Twitter at soda_the_saxman, and of course on this channel doing the usual shenanigans with 50 here.
Cool. And you can also find me on my own YouTube channel, 50 Shades of Geek, where I do weekly reviews of every single Doctor Who episode from 1963 all the way to 2023. And hopefully by this time tomorrow, I will have up. Hopefully by the time this episode debuts on the YouTubes, I will have already uploaded my review for the Church on Ruby Road, so you can see my full thoughts on it. Many of which I already kind of outlined in today's episode, but it's a much more truncated and focused review there. And I also talk about Doctor Who every Monday on this show on this channel, and every Thursday, me and this guy over here have another show called Fun with Flags, where we teach each other about each other's respective countries. And we also have all these wonderful channels from the wider Bentverse at large, like Something to Talk About, Galaxy Geeks, Multiverse of Geek, The Movie Lovers Unite, Midnight Cinema, 8 Reviews, and our good friend In the Front Row. And of course, a big shout out to our good friend John, who recently lost his father over the past week. So this has been us. This has been our show. This is how we're again going into the history books. This is how we've chosen to start off this year, and may we have a great year of Doctor Who goodness. Doctor Who is back, baby! Finally, after a 14-month hiatus. Can't even remember how long. So thank you all for watching if you have. And until the next time, in the words of Missy herself,
don't forget to like and subscribe.
Goodbye.